Hi guys, Billy back, and this time we're going to be looking at the Toys Era 1/6 scale Galaxy Warlord figure, aka Ronan from Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, just quickly looking at the art box, you can see that there is like a spot gloss effect here, and it's got a picture of the character, just sort of like a photoshopped version. You've got Galaxy Warlord down here, you've got the premium edition, and the reason that's on there is because there is a light up function. However, we'll get to that when we actually get to it. Then on the side you can see we don't have much. Nothing on that side. Then on the back we've got the usual stuff. We've got like a porthole where he stands and has a look out at the galaxy, barcodes and whatnot. That's it really. Galaxy Warlord at the top, Galaxy Warlord at the bottom. Okay, let's just open this up and have a look at exactly what we get. Let's see if we can do the iPhone advert. Come on. Slowly but surely it's happening. Oh, pop. There's a foam cover up the top. Take this off. There's a couple of instructions here about the hammer. Oh dear. Shit. You know when you hear something break but you can't figure out what it was? Yeah, I'm probably going to find that later. Whoops. And then there's another layer of foam and you've got the hammer and the stand. Okay, let's get everything out of the box and have a look at what we get. Okay, so here he is straight out of the box, and you can see he comes with a stand, some hands, and this hammer here. But really one of the most important things about these 1/6 scale figures is the head sculpt. So let's get in and have a look at that face straight away, because that's really what we're here for, isn't it? Actually, it looks a heck of a lot like Ronan from the movie. I do like the skin tone. There is some flecking in there to give it a bit of life, and I do like this face paint they've put in. They've actually put in the texture around the eyes and the chin here, where the face paints are a little bit thick and gloopy. The eyes, I'm not too sure, they feel a little bit orangey to me. Not entirely sure, a little bit fleshy coloured. It's not too bad, but it does take away a little bit from the life. But at least they're nice and glossy as usual. They come down, you can see that paint runs down onto the front of the throat there, and it looks pretty good. And then you can see this hood that he has on here, very nice, well sculpted. It's like a rubbery sort of plastic. You can see it's got sort of missing scale pieces to make it look like it's old and used like it was in the movie. And then the shoulder armour, it's got some nice weathering in there, the sculpting's fine. Again, that's a sort of semi-soft plastic. And then coming down into the chest area, you can see he's got this sort of this red and black sort of collar here. It makes him look like he's wearing one of those high school football jump jackets, you know. And yeah, coming down you can see he's got the red paint on the front of his armour here, some sort of war paint I assume that he's concocted for himself. And again, this is all sort of semi-rubbery plastic, and it's quite stiff. So there's not a lot of movement in the torso. There is a little bit of movement in the head, but not a lot. And you can see there is like a plastic rubbery piece here, just covering over the throat area. And he's got sort of like an undersuit where they've actually put in some of the scale armour just underneath. And it's got that rubbery, really rubbery sort of texture that the Ebony Maw had, and I'm assuming Proxima Midnight is going to have as well. You see these forearm gauntlets, again, they've got that really sort of nice scratching and weathering on, give him that aged look. And again, the coloured hands, nicely painted, match very well with the face. However, he does have flesh toned wrist pegs, so you have to keep these down to try and hide them. Would have been nice if they'd given us the same colour wrist pegs as the hands, but can't have everything. And then coming down into the sort of lower leg area, you can see he's got this sort of scale mail on, and again it's that same sort of rubbery sort of printed fabric, and again it feels like elastic bands. That's the best way I can describe it. And the front of the armour comes down here, and then underneath he's got the stretchy lycra rubbery stuff just on the legs as well, with some of the armour details in it. Even though you practically can't see it, it's nice to know that it's there. And then coming down into the boots, they're fairly nicely detailed and very well weathered, but I would like some details a bit more, like the buckles could have been highlighted just a tad more in the boots. And you can see it's really nicely weathered all around the edges of the boot here, and they've actually sculpted in the bottom of the boots. I don't even know if they knew what the bottom of his boots looked like in the film, or if they've just gone with any old sort of design that they've come up with. But however, I don't remember seeing the bottom of his boots in the film. But it's nice to know he had some tread. You wouldn't want him slipping over everywhere, would you? And then on the back you can see he's got all these sort of tails coming off the back of the armour. They're sort of like, again, that sort of rubbery fabric that sort of just hangs off the back, and they've even given it such a like a muddy dry brush. Articulation wise, he's not great, to be honest, because he can look down about that much, look up about that much. He can turn his head a bit more like that, but it just, this hood sort of stops it from, you know, getting any sort of decent movement in there. Coming down into the shoulders, the arms can come up about that much before the shoulder pads get in the way. The arms are on that sort of stretchy fabric lycra, so they can go out quite far. There is a bicep swivel, but it's sort of restricted by this piece of the shoulder pad here from turning properly. There is a slight amount of butterfly joint, so his shoulder can roll forward and back. The arms, which is a shame, only go about 90 degrees, which is a shame because there's nothing to restrict the elbows here. So I do feel like they could have gone with a better arm sort of joint that can actually get double bend in the arm, so you could get them to bend in a little bit more, considering the lack of articulation he already has with all this armour on. And he does have wrist pegs that go in and out and all the way around. Torso wise, no, there isn't a lot there. He can twist a little bit at the hips, but not a massive amount, I'm afraid. The legs can go out to about there. Double ratcheted knee joints mean he can bend his legs quite well. There is thigh swivel, but the feet are on really good ankle pegs that roll all the way around, as long as you move the top part of the boot out of the way first. And no, he can't Van Damme it. Okay, accessories wise, he doesn't come with much other than the hands and the hammer. And the hands are pretty much stock generic hands, fisted hands, and 2 gripping hands. He's also got a gun holding hand. I don't ever remember seeing him holding a gun, but you know, if you wanted him to be running around shooting a gun, you can. And he also has another gripping hand here that he can hold his hammer with. Oh, and I nearly forgot to mention the stand. This has just been filmed at the end, so yeah, you can see you've got this sort of spacey nebula effect on here, sort of matte, nice sort of rough texture, no nameplate, nice and simple. Traditional Toys era stand. So yeah, that's included. Speaking of the hammer, you can see it's got sort of like a really sort of heavy die cast handle, but the top part is plastic, and that's because of the light up feature in there. And it's sculpted really well. I do think the handle feels a little thick. You can unscrew this handle here, and underneath you can see that this is where the battery goes. Now this is the interesting part, because the battery that's supposed to go in here is actually sort of a fishing float battery. So you have to go to like fishing websites and have a look for these, the CR316 battery. I know a lot of people have been struggling to get this battery online, so go into sort of fishing shops and also fishing websites and you might have more luck finding it. Man, this battery is tiny, so let's just push it in here. The pin part goes in first, push it in, and there we go, it lights up, and that is a snug fit. And then you have to screw this back on, and voila, and it does actually light up pretty bright. I reckon it will fade pretty quick though. Those batteries are really, really small, so it'll be interesting to see how long this lasts. Now I was curious to see if those batteries were the only ones you could get, so I thought I'd test out these CR322 batteries as well to see if they actually fit inside, which I don't think they will. I think they're a little too thick, but let's give it a go. Moment of truth, let's test this out. See if this can go in. Oh, it can fit. It can go in. Let's see if it can screw up though. Yeah? Yeah, so that fits as well. So the CR316 fits, and in a pinch the CR322 can also fit. Nice one. And here he is just posed with the hammer, and you can see that the actual light in the hammer is starting to fade a little bit. Not too much, but it is starting to fade a little bit. Luckily I got a few of these batteries just in case I ever want to pose them with the lights on. I never probably will, to be honest. I'm not one of those people that keeps all the lights on. I always get stick for it in my photographs. Why aren't Iron Man's lights on, etc. I just can't be bothered, which is kind of my mantra for life, really. Anyway, let's have a look at him with other figures from the Hot Toys Guardians of the Galaxy range. Okay, and here he is next to Gamora, Nebula, Star-Lord and Rocket, and I have to say he is a tad on the small side. Yeah, they've kind of used a stock body. Now he's tall enough to fit in with them, but really for a villain he needs to be a bit more imposing. I do think he needs to be a bit taller than Star-Lord. He's practically the same height as him, to be honest. I mean, if we put him up against Nebula, yeah, he is a little bit taller, and he is a fraction bit taller than Star-Lord when on the stand, but not by a massive amount. Got me some ankle extenders from 16kit.com. These are the slightly longer foot pegs. Okay, let's get these into the boot. I've got to do this off camera because otherwise it's just going to be a pain in the butt. There you go, they're in there now. Here we go. Let's see if this adds a little bit more length. It does. Let's do the other one. And voila, he is taller than the rest of them, which is perfect in my opinion. He now looks like he's a bit of a badass, and I'm very, very glad I got those ankle extenders, because honestly I actually think the legs are a fraction too short, but with the ankle extenders in, they actually look like the right length for Ronan, and I'm finally glad to have him in the collection. Overall I think the figure's pretty nice. The head sculpt is probably the best feature out of the whole thing. The articulation is a little bit lacking, especially in places where they could have got more articulation, especially in the elbows. He could have had double jointed arms. He doesn't. That is a bit of a shame, but other than that he's actually quite good. He wasn't a very dynamic character in the films. He kind of just stood around and looked mean and menacing, and well, that's pretty much what you're going to get, a mean and menacing looking Ronan to stand in amongst all your other Marvel figures, and he is going to look pretty good. Okay guys, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you do me a favour there. If you get the fuck out of my cave, I'm going to put this guy on the shelf of all the other Marvel figures, and I'm just going to have to really figure out the spacing on this, because that shelf is starting to get very full, and I actually finally have the Mark 85 coming. Woo! I think I've got the newer version with the new head sculpt. I think KG Hobby were holding out for that version, so I will be getting that. I did also have the Battle Damage Mark 85 on pre-order, but I've cancelled that now because I'm actually probably gonna put that money towards maybe Iron Patriot or maybe Hulk or something like that. We'll see. But that's it for now guys. Take care. Bye bye. Is it just me, or does Ronan look like he's about to join in with the chorus of a Go West song? Maybe it's just me. Some of you will get that joke, some of you really, really won't. God, I'm old. Bye bye.